How am I sounding? Oh, we don't know yet.
On on my end, you sound fine. Like
All right.
on the Skype call, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned, but well, I guess it looks like I'm coming through. All right. Grab me the streaming key when you have a moment.
Yeah. Let's see. I also need to figure out how to get this real quick. This call
All right, welcome to our second live episode of Glass Houses, a Billy Joel podcast. I'm Jack Fernino.
Hey everyone, I'm Michael Grosvenor. How you doing tonight?
All right, so we got a fun show for you guys tonight. We had a lot of fun doing this 2 weeks ago, and we're going to do a couple of things we did last time. We're going to do a couple top 5 lists, sort of indulge ourselves a little. And then after that, we have some guests. Michael, do you want to talk about them for a second?
Yeah, there is a fantastic radio show out of Syracuse, New York, called Songs from the Attic. A hilarious, funny husband and wife duo, Melissa and Teddy Boileau. They're the hosts of the show, and they're going to be joining us here on the live broadcast in just a little while.
Yeah. All right. So how you holding up out there in Washington State?
It's been a big adjustment, man. I tell you, it's I work from home, so that part's not too crazy, but just having to, think about any trip out you take and everything like that, it's a whole new thing. Trying not to go too stir crazy, but yeah, it's been pretty wild. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. It's kind of setting in now that I'm trying not to go anywhere. It's anything I have in the house is what I'm using, for be it anything technological, anything for starting a garden in a couple weeks, all that kind of stuff is whatever I have is what I'm stuck with, so to speak.
Sure. Yeah. Understandable.
Yeah. All right. Give us a shout. Let us know how you guys are doing out there. Always interesting to find out how everybody's doing.
Yeah.
I am not as on the stick as I wanted to be here, so I'm going to make my way to the chat little by little here.
Sure. We actually have one comment from Mike Stutz so far. He's mentioning that your audio is panned hard left, so I don't know if you're able to tweak that on your end at all, or if it is what it is.
Yeah, let me see. Thanks a lot, Mike. Well, yeah, it's one of the things I think I've been definitely wrestling with here. I'll mess with it a little as we go and see if
we're slowly dialing it in here.
Yeah. As long as I'm not too loud, I'm kind of a little more concerned about that. But all right.
Sure.
Well, I think this is about what we're going to get for tonight, unfortunately, till I get this audio input figured out a little better. But yeah. All right. So I don't know. I guess let's jump in. You want to do these top 5s? We'll start there.
Yeah. What's the first one on deck here?
So we're gonna go with the easy one again to start off. We're gonna do our top 5 songs from Greatest Hits Volume 2, and then after that, I guess I'll let the cat out of the bag. Nothing that crazy. But after that, we're gonna do our top 5 ballads each. And at least for me, that's interesting because for so long I gravitated towards all the rockers that, it took a little bit more thought and a little bit of close listening to really think of, which softer songs, which ballads I like the best.
Yeah, and ballads is an interesting kind of category because it's like, what are the parameters of a ballad? Like Greatest Hits Volume 2, you've got X amount of songs to choose from, but what somebody may consider a ballad may not be the same necessarily to somebody else. So it's kind of a little more open, and so I'm curious kind of where we landed on this.
Yeah. All right, so I'll kick it off. Greatest Hits Volume 2. I'm going to start off with Allentown. Always love this one. I think it's really the production that always got me on this. It's not quite thin, but it's a very lean production that I always liked. I always liked the way the acoustic guitar really kind of jumps out and really works in tandem with everything. It's actually a song also I use a lot when I teach kids how to play drums. And I talk about, and Liberty is such a great example of this. I talk a lot about how, in rock and roll, your 2 and 4 on the snare is always there, but the bass drum, as much as it follows the bass guitar, so often it follows the lyrics as well. And this is a great example because that his beat in that is so, you're just so laid down and a little brutal, but it just fits so well with the cadence of Billy's lyrics. And it really just makes it such a monolithic, unified whole. So it's really pleasing, and then at the same time, it's such a perfect example of what I'm talking about when I'm telling these kids that it's actually one of the first songs they learn. Between that and the fact that it's a nice mid-tempo, they can get a piece of it.
Sure.
So it's one I always liked as a kid, and then I get to hear it a couple times a week right now too.
Oh, that's a good choice. Good choice for sure. So mine, we're looking at my number five is going to be The Longest Time.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've always loved the song, and I think the older I got, the more I really liked the fact that it was such an unlikely hit.
Yeah.
You have a 1950s a cappella doo-wop making the top 10 charts in 1983. That just was super unlikely, and so that I have an affection for it for that as well, and I just love the arrangement of it. And learning over the years, turns out Billy sings every single vocal part on the song.
Yeah.
So all of those harmonies, it's all him, and I just love that about it.
Right. Yeah. That was now. Was that volume 2 or volume 3? I thought that was volume 3.
That was volume two. Volume
Was it?
two.
Oh, I might be able to change up a couple of mine. All right, cool. All right, I didn't for some reason I didn't realize we were going all the way through An Innocent Man. That's cool. All
Yeah,
right.
there was real quick. So there's actually a slight overlap on the greatest hits as far as albums.
Okay.
Most of the Innocent Man record that were hits landed on Greatest Hits Volume 2, and then you have Volume 3 had Keeping the Faith because that charted I think in '84.
Oh, okay.
So that's like the carryover album, but most of the singles from An Innocent Man ended up on Greatest Hits Volume 2.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I think I'm gonna stay with mine originally here. I'm gonna go with Pressure.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
Pressure. Oh,
Yeah.
Mike had an addition I forgot about as well. Yeah, Mike Stutz, An Innocent Man is actually also on Greatest Hits Volume 3 as well. So it's two songs.
Oh, okay. All right,
Yep.
cool. So yeah, I can keep mine as is.
Right on.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna go with Pressure. I love the bridges in this song. The bridges make it every single time. It's not only the melody that he has, but I love how like mocking he is about it. It's such a great effect, songwriting wise and attitude wise, that I always loved it. The synth part, to be honest with you, it really depends on the day. Sometimes I think it's awesome. Sometimes I'm not crazy about it. But
Yeah.
the B section on that kills me every time. And on the solo, the synth that goes over the bridge is fantastic. Just the timbre of it and the solo itself. Yeah.
That's a great choice. It's funny, Pressure didn't end up making my top 5, and it's one of my favorites, but that's when you're looking at this big list of hits, it's like you're ultimately going to leave out something that you really gravitate toward a lot.
Yeah.
So for my number 4, from when I originally did this list, I think I'm going to swap two. So I think my number 4 here is going to be another Innocent Man track, and it's going to be Uptown Girl.
Okay.
I love the Frankie Valli vibe to it, and I just love the groove and just the upbeat feel. It's what was that there was some article floating around that like scientifically that's one of the most happy upbeat songs ever for some for some analytical reason that they came up with, and it's true. The song's not deep by any stretch of the word. I mean, not one bit, but the song just has this just fun, upbeat feeling, and I can't think of the song also without thinking of the video. And when I was first getting exposed to music videos, Uptown Girl was like heavy rotation.
Yeah.
And so I remember that video so well. And it's interesting. This song, for being a big hit of his, I find is very controversial. That's not really the right word, but in the Billy Joel community, it's like people either very divisive. Yeah, people
divisive.
either love it or hate it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one or the other. But I'm going to go with Love It, number 4.
I'll give it to you. Well, I think for a while too, I love there's that one clip of him playing it just as like a classical piano piece, and you really just get the melody. You hear the melody come out, which is nice. It kind of strips away a little bit of the theatrics of it. I also love that when they did it on The Simpsons, when Homer becomes a hippie and he makes Uptown Girl his hippie anthem. He's singing it to George Carlin. And
there's a lot of Simpsons Billy Joel references over the years. It's great.
Yeah, and that one too. That's got those amazing key changes in it, where he does some real funky stuff, where he doesn't just sit on the same chords the whole time. It's a lot of steps that are pretty sophisticated. As usual, there's a should link it somewhere, but there's a great video on YouTube that just kind of breaks that down in layman's terms and explains why it's really cool, why it works, and why it's actually a little tricky too.
Yeah, we'll link that. That's an interesting article for sure.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of the greatest hits, I'm keeping it pretty mainstream here. I'm going with Big Shot for number 3. Again, I always love the attitude on this one. Only recently have I really keyed into how, like, actually almost Broadway theatrical it really is. Just on how, like, 1, 2, and stop and start those choruses are. Also, I always loved Richie Canada's sax solo on that. We found the music to that, and if you ever thought it was just a little odd sounding, it's a harmonized part. It's a real tight harmony, and it's played very closely.
It is very tight. You're right. Yeah, it is the two harmonizing together, and it's so tight. And underneath that part, I love the groove.
Yeah.
Too. Dun, dun, it's got a little syncopation going on. It just moves so well underneath that sax part. That's a great part.
Yeah, and the other thing is too, for as hard as Liberty hit, especially I think on The Stranger and 52nd Street, he's really laying it down almost like Bonham, man. But like they put him back in the mix, and it's this real weird effect where you get all his energy, but he's not, kind of overpowering the mix, and I think that always made a huge difference. He's beating the hell out of those cymbals in the back there, and it's cool.
Yeah.
And the guitar solo at the end just lays down so nicely. Like, it's a tone that you don't hear in the rest of the song, and all of a sudden it just comes out of nowhere, and it just layers it. Like, you couldn't imagine like that coda without that guitar over it. Like, it would have just been the last 20 seconds of that song would have been so boring. But they just lay down like that AC/DC guitar right on top of it.
Yeah, you're right. And everything I've read is that's actually David Brown's very first appearance as a guitar player. Mm-hmm. Not credited at all, but he played that solo, and that's, I think, it on the whole album. Mm-hmm. And if you go forward and listen to some of his solos, on Glass Houses, and then listen to his performance of like Live from Long Island, a Big Shot, and to me it's like unmistakable. He has that same touch.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you have for number 3?
So let's see. Before we get into number 3, got a couple people saying hi. Gigi, hi Gigi. Todd. So we got Dave tuning in. We got some folks. Let's see. While we're going through ours, we'd love to hear what some of your Greatest Hits Volume 2 favorites are. So feel free to comment. Let us know. We'll throw some of them out here as well once we get through ours.
Yeah, for sure. You're going to have to keep me posted till I get on this chat. This is killing me.
Yeah, no worries. So my number 3 is one of the 2 new songs from this, and it's going to be The Night Is Still Young. Mm-hmm. It's kind of foreshadowing lyrically and musically kind of where Billy was leading his voice. This is, one song where he really highlights his deepening voice, and in such stark contrast to An Innocent Man, where he's using that, the high register. The Night Is Still Young, he's really kind of getting deep, and he's talking about not wanting to be on the road so often and having a family. And so this was like such a separation from An Innocent Man that this was now like adult Billy talking about growing up and talking about the future. And I just really kind of like the vibe of it, and it's and the production is really good on it. I just really like how it sounds.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of a dark horse in the catalog, but I really like it too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going to go with You May Be Right for number 4.
Number 3?
Which way? Whichever way we're going. I've lost track if we're counting down or counting up. Either way, my next one will be You May Be Right. Just always love the groove, always love the video. Funny enough, kind of fell out of love with this one for a little because one band I was in, we had like a monthly rental studio, monthly rental room, and this other band like 2 doors down used to do this song horribly, and like I don't know why they couldn't get it. They had to practice it every week, and it was just like that version kind of like overwrote the file in my brain for a while, you know?
You just always associated it with that really bad version.
Yeah, exactly. And then finally I kind of got back into it. I was like, oh my God, this is so much better than they played it, you know? But I remember a couple years ago, a friend of mine just gave me the Glass Houses on CD. I had it on like cassette and vinyl forever. And it was the first time I got to play it in the car, you know, and just crank it and be driving around in the summertime listening to it. And that was the first time I really noticed the big difference in production from The Stranger and 52nd Street into Glass Houses. You know, just how much more lean it was, things like that.
Yeah, right on. Oh yeah, Dewey mentioned, which is good to know too, back on Night is Still Young, the live versions, especially, you know, since Stormfront, Crystal Taliaferro taking the high parts and just blending so well with Billy. She really, really does a great job on that. That's a good call.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So my number 2 is going to be Allentown.
Okay.
I'm going to say that's one of my favorite singles of all time, I'd say. Same thing. It's a great opener. The groove is fantastic, and I've always loved, you know, late 70s, early 80s is when you had a lot of vocal or piano and acoustic guitar blends as far as the meat of the song. And I just love the acoustic guitar tones and the way it works around the piano. And then Liberty's drum sounds, you know, that's probably one of the albums where his drums sound pretty big and lively. And I always love that.
Cool. Yeah, you know, I almost wonder if they double tracked him on a few of those songs, or did something where he's kind of stereo panned and things like that a little more.
Yeah, I know, you know, I wish they would have documented that album probably more than most others, because that was the one where they experimented so much in the studio with sounds and effects and recording different things, and it would have been really interesting really to kind of see how they approached all these songs on the Nylon Curtain.
Yeah, you know, especially that was the really big studio album, so that would have been a great one to really see behind the scenes on. There's not a lot of that out there for Billy, which is unfortunate. I mean, you know, there's other artists where I mean, there's the one for River of Dreams. What was that called? Shades of Grey? The VHS. Yes. Yeah, that was a great one. I love that one.
Yeah,
I haven't really seen. I mean, you'll find them on like 2020 and things like that, but by and large, there was no like big making of that I've seen out there, which is a shame. Speaking of that, real quick, who was it? Dale that mentioned CW Post last time? The bootleg?
I think maybe.
Yeah, Dale, I gave that a listen. That is one smoking concert, man. That was like I had to take a walk around the block after listening to that one. Thanks for cluing me in on that one.
Yeah, we'll have to do an episode on that one coming up.
Yeah.
The band just it's got that just hungry energy that they're just you know they're about to break to the next stratosphere. But they're just tearing it up on that show.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So these comments are kind of flying by quick, which is thank you.
That's awesome.
But I'm having trouble seeing some of these back comments. Let me pick up my cell phone here. I might be able to scroll up. There we go. So a couple before we get too far away from it. Let's see. We got Jennifer Hopper and Chris Hennigan checking in. Thanks for watching, guys. Who else we have here? Dave McLaren, Kevin Mocker, Gail May. Dewey's with us again today, so yeah, some friends and listeners, so we appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, Chip Carroll, what's going on, man? All right. All right, cool. I got the chat going now. I can concentrate a little more. All right. So with that, I'll go to my number 1 here for Greatest Hits Volume 2, and I'm going with Still Rock and Roll to Me. I know. You know, as Billy's gotten older, he's kind of shied away from that one a little. He feels like it's a little too snotty, but I like it.
Yeah.
I like that he's snotty. I like that he's petulant. It is a snotty, petulant song, but it's a damn fun one. You know, it's such a great. You know, some people don't like it when he's got a chip on his shoulder, but I think he wears a chip on his shoulder very well.
he wears it well, and it works for him. It does. Yeah. It does. Yeah. I almost chose it, and it's funny because it didn't even make my top 5 at all. Yeah, which is kind of odd. to that note, Still Rock and Roll to Me was the first song I ever heard of his. And,
Uh-huh.
forget the lullabies and kids' music. And I was asking my mom to put that song on like 24/7 when I was a kid. So, but I ended up going with another Glass Houses track. I went with You May Be Right. It had to be a Glass Houses track for me. First album I ever knew, first album I owned, and
Right.
still my favorite. And You May Be Right is just such a great opener. The groove, the feel is fantastic. I love Richie's sax solo.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way the guitars work with the keyboard. It looks like video may have dropped out for a minute. Are you looking?
Yeah,
Fired
I'm
up?
seeing it. Yeah, it looks like the chat's still going.
Chat's still going. Can you all hear us by chance, or are you getting? Oh, there it goes. We're back.
All right, cool.
All right, guys. Sorry
Yeah.
about that. So with You May Be Right, just all-time favorite, and so much so that ended up using it as part of our intro for the podcast. And
Yeah.
it's funny, a couple of weeks ago, I was, as we edit these episodes, I hear the first 15 seconds of You May Be Right several times a week. So I happened to go in the store, and and literally as soon as I walked in, the song started.
Uh-huh.
And I had to do a double take because it's been so in my head from the podcast that it just made me chuckle that I'm hearing it in public, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's an actual song.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's funny how that happens sometimes. It screws you up when you hear it somewhere else. I remember the first time I heard a Social Distortion song in a Rite Aid, I was like, what is this, the Twilight Zone? Like, granted it was Story of My Life, but still, same kind of thing. Kevin Mocker, yeah, I know he plays it all the time. I'm looking in one of the books now to see if I can find it quickly. But he's just said like he kind of sometimes he feels a little embarrassed by it, Still Rock and Roll to Me, just like kind of how snotty he was on it. But yeah, he definitely plays it all the time. So I can find it quickly, but I'm not that quick.
So it sounds like video and audio is a little bit choppy. That's the drag of Wi-Fi and all that. So.
Yeah.
We're doing the best we can, so we appreciate you bearing with us. It's not something we can too easily control, but we'll tweak anything that we can for sure.
Yeah, when we all had to start staying inside, I was not originally planning on doing a whole bunch of live streaming, so I never upgraded my 3-year-old, mid-level at best laptop.
Right,
so
right.
I'm trying to figure this out,
Definitely.
I think Linda Diaz is my neighbor. How you doing, Linda? Good to see you. Chiming in too. All right, cool. So you want to go to ballads, and then we'll bring on our guests?
Yeah, let's do that. So we're going to go through top 5 ballads. This is I'm curious where we land on this one. Like I said, because it's so the options are pretty great here.
Yeah, and certainly much more wide open than choosing off one album.
Definitely.
You want to kick this one off?
Yeah, sure. For my number 5, I'm going to go with Temptation from The Bridge. It's such a simple song, just very sparse arrangements. I think it's mostly electric keyboard and vocal, I think with a little bit of bass and a couple electronic drum hits, which kind of dates it a little bit. Yeah. But the sentiment is great. I think for years so many people thought it was about going on the road and missing Christy, but it's in fact about Alexa and having a new daughter at home and making it so hard to leave and do his job and all of this. So it was just about again going back to the longing of wanting to be home. So I really like that sentiment of it, and just the melody is fantastic as well. So it's always been one of my favorites that I've probably never heard him play live.
That's true. Yeah, it's one of his most bittersweet melodies, I think. Like one of those ones, and I remember when I was younger, you almost couldn't listen to it. It was like too strong.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with one off the bridge too. I'm gonna go with This Is the Time.
Yeah.
It's definitely a big '80s ballad, but I think it's done really well. Sometimes you can hear where the lyrics are kind of stitched together. Billy was a little distracted when he made the bridge, and it's not one of his favorite albums. But it's kind of all over the place. But I love when he goes back to the imagery of the beach towards the end. He says, "This beach is so cold on winter afternoons." and it's a combination of just the way the line drops and how he just brings it back to the beginning of that song.
Yep.
Is really cool because we walked on the beach beside that old hotel. You hear beach, you automatically assume this is during the summer, and then he kind of throws it at you at the end. It's really in the winter, and it kind of puts a different twist on the whole thing.
It really does. Yeah, that's a great point. I love the lyrical tie in there, and I don't think you can talk about This Is the Time without David Brown being in the conversation.
Right.
I think his guitar work just makes the song. David has such a unique approach to lead guitar. Often plays finger style. I know he plays with the pick a lot, but a lot of finger style playing, like Close to the Borderline. I think that's a lot of finger playing, finger style playing. This Is the Time, though, just his flourishes on the guitar and the way he kind of ducks in and out of Billy's vocal, just super tasty. Great playing all around on that.
I didn't know he played finger picking or finger style. Now I really want to go back and listen for that tone. And,
get for sure.
Out of it. Yeah, that's awesome. Amber, how you doing? Dan Casey, how you doing? Dan, I thought you were live streaming. There's like the last thing I saw before we were going. I thought you were live too. Dan, we can't call in yet, but if you say something in the comments, I'll be sure to get back at you. Dan and I have played in a couple bands together over the years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go with what's that?
So you have This Is the Time for...
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. That was your shot. My bad. I ran out of...
Oh, no. All good. So number 3 for me... Oh, number 4. See, I'm jumping ahead. It's going to be Glass Houses Cut, Through the Long Night. This is just... this is his Paul McCartney in the best way. If you listen to the vocal, it's just such an homage, in my opinion, to Paul McCartney. And with the album being such... like a driving rock album for the most part, just loud guitars, big drums, to end the album on this note, just with just such a quiet, tender song, just fantastic. And I think it's a lot of acoustic guitar, piano, and is there a French horn going on there as well?
Yeah, and that's what a great touch that is to that song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could see a fire in a log cabin with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that's a very often overlooked one. I'm glad you brought that one up. That's really cool. All right, number 3. No.
Yep.
Yeah, man, I'm all over the place in that. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go with for mine. I'm gonna go with Night Is Still Young.
Yes.
I kind of like the '80s production on it. I do have a soft spot for that 80s production, probably because it's when I grew up. It was like it became your baseline in this weird way until you got into the 70s, in general.
Right. Yeah.
One of those songs you didn't really understand what was going on at first, and when I read the Fred Shearer's book, and it goes a lot into it, it's really interesting to hear him, just having, now he's married and he's looking forward, and so many love songs, especially in pop, are written about the beginning of a relationship, like that kind of new love vibe.
Right.
To hear one written by someone that always had like a sort of an old soul approach to writing anyway, to hear him kind of wax about what it means to be married again,
Sure.
what that means is it's really interesting when you realize that that's what he's on about. It's not just another here's a girl and I fell in love with her,
Right.
I love the sound of the keyboards on it. I like the big ending. Big ending's real fun, It's a real production that way.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I don't think this made my list, but it's one of my it's up there for me for sure. So that's a good one.
Yeah.
Let's see. My number 3 is going to be You're My Home.
Nice.
Yeah, originally on Piano Man, but my definitive version is going to be the Songs in the Attic version. It sounds like it came out of the 70s 100%. Mm-hmm. There's some of the lyric references are dated. You're my castle, you're my cabin, you're my instant pleasure dome. I mean, those are lyrics he probably wouldn't write 10 years, even 5 years later.
Yeah.
But the sentiment is fantastic, and especially on the live version, I love the dual acoustic guitars and the groove behind it, and just such a fun one for me. I love it.
Yeah, we got some good ones coming through in the comments. I think I'm gonna have to like not read these because I'm getting tempted to change mine as we go. Dan Casey, all right, cool, thanks, man. All right, I'll have to check you out tomorrow. Dan's doing some live casts too. Kevin Locker gave his top 5: Honesty, Through the Long Night, Just the Way You Are, She's Got Away and You're My Home. Somebody put, here we go, Dave McLean, Everybody Has a Dream, another one that often gets overlooked.
Yes.
Vienna. I think that one like almost transcends ballad. Like that's one that just keeps growing in stature. That song.
Yeah,
really,
and and from an album, The Stranger, that was so loaded with hits. Vienna wasn't one of them, but it's like almost in a way outlasted like Just the Way You Are as far as the sentiment of it or among the fan base. So it's definitely withstood the test of time and aged incredibly well.
It really did. I mean, as great as Just the Way You Are is, that's pretty landlocked in the 70s production wise.
Right.
Vienna was always a little out there. I mean, Ariana Grande just did a version of it not too long ago, and it was pretty good because she didn't get too silly with it or anything, and just played it as a piano ballad, and she sung it very nicely, and it came out really well. But
oh, nice.
Yeah, and then Dave McLean wraps it up. You're My Home, Leave a Tender Moment Alone, and then Last of the Big Time Spenders. And I'm gonna have to go back and re-listen. I have not heard that song in years.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So, did you do your number 3 yet?
What did I do so far? I did. Well, my number 3 is the same as yours, so we'll blast right through it as You're My Home.
Okay.
Same thing. I'll tell you what, man. I'll take Piano Man or Songs in the Attic. I really love Western Billy. I always got a kick out of that. Even before you knew the history, you just got this feeling that like he was a little bit of a fish out of water on it. But not in a bad way. It sounded pretty good. It was, when you kind of go back and listen to it, it's just this other dimension of him that was around for 2 albums and then suddenly disappeared. But
and it's nice. Worth noting that like songs like that and Piano Man, Street Life Serenade were written when he was out in L.A.
Right.
Most of it was, and what was going on in L.A. You had the Eagles and bands like that, and so you can definitely hear the Southern California 70s rock kind of rubbing off on his style and songwriting at the time,
But it was really Western too, which was really cool. It wasn't just James Taylor or whatever. It was, had that like twang to it and stuff.
Yeah.
Dan Casey says, "Angry young man, Dan, we're doing ballads. Come on, keep up." Michelle says, "Stop in Nevada." That's another great one.
That's a great one.
Yeah. All right, what do you have for number 2?
Number 2, I'm going to go with off of Street Life Serenade. It's going to be Souvenir.
All right. Yeah, the old closer. Go on, I'm sorry.
Yep. No, all good. It's the former closer, super short, maybe 2 minutes at tops. And it's, just a verse in it's such a short song, and it's very, what's the word I'm thinking of? It's very it's kind of, it reminds me, it's like, that's why it was a great closer. It's like, it's the end of the night, kind of, looking back and, a little sad, but, a little regretful, but, just looking at the past. And it's just such a nice, short little piece.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was just thinking about that one. Yeah, for sure. That's the last one on Live for Long Island too, right? That we recently talked about. Yeah, that was a closer. It's so funny now to realize that Piano Man would be early in the set and Souvenir was the closer. Right. My how times have changed.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, number 2, I'm gonna go with James. I've always loved this song. Before I really, it was one you could get a hold of early on, and then you grew into it, as far as I'm concerned. It's got a real 70s vibe, but it's not something about it's just slightly timeless, if slightly timeless is possibly a thing. I love, what does he use on that? I should have looked that up. It's like a Fender Rhodes or something to that effect.
Fender Rhodes, yeah.
Fender Rhodes, yeah. Great sound. It's such a plain spoken song, but it's great that it is such a unique take, such a unique topic to go into. And it doesn't work perfectly and that's kind
Yeah.
of the charm of it, as far as I'm concerned. Like just the fact that like you can kind of argue, like he doesn't make any grand point. Billy never says his life is better on the road, and James is worse because he went and studied instead. But
Right.
he just kind of lays out like it's just such a moment. Like that's where that moment is.
Right. This is where our paths went and all of that. And it's interesting, most of his songs really don't, not say most, but a lot of songs are a little more broad as far as, subject matter. And, this feels like a very personal story of him talking to a friend.
Yeah. I think it wasn't it. It was somebody who was in a band in either the Lost Souls or the Hassles, and he wanted them to come out, I think, to L.A. or something like that, and he was like, "No, man, I'm going to school or I'm doing whatever. This sounds awesome, but I can't do it," and that's where that song came out of.
Yeah, I think it sounds familiar.
Yeah. See, now when we do this and we record and we edit it later, we take out the 5 minutes of dead air where we look this stuff up and we sound like professors, and I can't even look down. I'm trying to not get the
do two things at once is impossible.
Yeah, exactly. If anybody else wants to find that in the definitive biography and let me know, that'd be cool.
What we try to do is we try to, if we we'll say something and then we fact check ourselves. We're like, wait, is that true? So like Jack said, there will be a little pause. We'll look it up.
Yeah.
And if it's true, we'll pick it up. If it's false, we'll just cut it out.
You'll never know. Yeah. Dave McLean says, when I was a kid growing up in New Hampshire, the funny rumors were that James and My Life were written about Jay Leno.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I had heard that My Life was actually written about Richard Belzer, or the comedian.
That he was on Law and Order.
Yeah, I believe. But that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
It's not like Billy called me up and told me what it was about. So.
We have to make these lists of things that you can't go knock on his door. Dewey Cole says, wasn't James released as a single? I know there was a promo video. Yeah, definitely saw the promo. I don't think the promo was widely available until the Greatest Hits DVDs came out. They weren't on the VHSs.
Right.
I don't know if it was a single. Yeah.
It was just the Essential Billy Joel DVD is the only time it ever got released, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very sparse, just them kind of all in a row playing. And so this was actually a nice, interesting snapshot of the Turnstiles era band with Liberty, Doug, Russell Javers. You had Richie, and Dean Krause, I think it was, who played on that era, who was part of Topper as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a fun little video.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. All
Number
right.
one.
Number one. What do you got?
She's Got Away.
All right. Yeah.
Yep. It's again another shortish, less than 3 minutes, and just a simple, true love song. Just him and a piano, and it. I like the studio version. The live attic version is amazing. And it's the message is just super sweet and sincere, and just such a nice song.
Yeah, for sure. It's become a classic too. It was kind of a sleeper. I don't think it really picked up steam until it was on Songs in the Attic, and then people really recognized it after that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with, I don't know if it's my number one, but it's my number one tonight. And I'm gonna go with This Night off An Innocent Man.
Ooh, great song.
It just hits it. It's I love the background vocals. I love the orchestration on it. I always love the lyrical turns in it. Just perfectly done. Almost schlock, but not at all, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
He gets so close, but he does it so well that always stuck out to me. So I always love that one.
Oh, great choice. Great choice.
All right. So thanks everyone for sticking around so far. Every time we do these, we worry if we're going to have enough, and then we look at how long we've been talking. We're like, all right, let's speed it up here. So I think it's time to bring on our guests. I'm sure they've been waiting patiently.
Yes, they're calling in shortly.
All right.
So yeah, this is Melissa and Teddy Boileau from the Songs from the Attic radio show, which is a 1 hour-long radio show out of Syracuse, New York. They do Billy hits, live songs, deep cuts, you name it, and just the witty banter between them is great. And they're just a lot of fun. So they graciously agreed to join us here, and so they are going to be dialing in momentarily.
Yeah, and it's a great show. They do a live stream, I believe, on Sundays.
It's Sunday mornings. I think I want to say 9 a.m. Eastern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
maybe 10.
Yeah, what a great show. I mean, we talked about Temptation, and we were talking about songs you don't hear a lot. I dipped into a couple more of their episodes recently, and it's like Temptation's on there. When in Rome is on there. Like they dig. It's really cool to hear somebody curate those songs. The banter's great, so it's great to hear them, the two of them, kind of talk and go at it, and then hit you with these great live cuts, these great, really obscure second side towards the end of the album kind of songs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, so it's great, and they gave us a shout out a few weeks ago, which we were pretty honored about. Because we're pretty young at this, and they've been at it for a while. Let's see if we can pick them up here. Are we all in? Okay.
Let's see what we got.
All right. This is. Let me get rid of that for now. All right. We're gonna get this in a minute. I know they're on. I just can't see them yet. Oh wait, I don't think we have video of them yet. Okay, so they'll be on in a moment. All right. Almost there. But yeah, it's on that radio station, but you can find, you can watch the live streams when they put them out on the Facebook page, and you can also stream the show when it comes out as well. And I'm sure once we get them on, we'll figure out where you can pick it up from. Yeah, I don't think we have video of them yet is the thing.
I'm seeing them on the call.
Yeah, do you see video anywhere?
I do.
You do? Okay. Hey guys, are you there?
We're here. We can hear you.
Okay. All right.
That's the first step.
All right. Let's start there as I try to figure this out on the back end then.
That's right. You don't need faces. They're good.
So Melissa, Teddy, welcome to the show.
You guys have been cracking us up. I've been sitting here watching, and everything you're telling us, I'm nodding my head. I'm like, yeah, no, they can't hear me. I'm nodding my head. Yeah. I'm in my basement by myself.
That's hilarious. Oh, that's great. So how you guys doing tonight?
Doing very
good.
well.
How are you guys? Hanging in there?
Yeah,
we are
doing
hanging
well,
in
thanks.
there. Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
So while we're getting the video stuff set up, why don't you let the audience know a little bit about you two, how you met, how the radio show came to be, and all that fun stuff.
All right. Well, how we met.
Well, wait. How we met for the show, or how we met as people?
I'll let you pick.
Oh.
Well, the show came afterwards.
Right.
That's what she said.
We met.
No.
Yeah. We actually met. I'm a local musician here.
You all play drums. I'm odd man out.
Yeah, she was telling me.
Trio of drummers right here.
Which is very cool. As soon as you get video, I'll show you my drum set. Awesome. But I was playing a cancer benefit, and she was a radio DJ for one of the very large radio stations in the area, so she was emceeing the event, and that was the first time we ever met.
Yeah.
And just, start talking, so on and so forth.
I gave him a bottle of vanilla bean scented hand sanitizer from Bath and Body Works. Yeah. Cute drummer needs hand sanitizer, and then I got slapped by someone.
Right.
And then, yeah, that was it.
Oh, okay.
That's...
So, yeah. And then, I'm a musician, so I love all types of music, but she had this Billy Joel infatuation. No.
Passion,
yes.
Passion.
There you go. Yes.
So she eventually came up with an idea, because she was in radio already, to do a radio show about Billy, but she didn't know how to do any of the engineering. So I have a small sound company also, so I'm a little bit, I know enough to get myself in trouble.
Yes.
So of course I got dragged into it, but
yeah,
I came to appreciate Billy a little bit more.
He grew up, now let me interject. Teddy's 12 years older than me, so he grew up in the peak, I guess you'd call it the mainstream peak era of Billy.
Mm-hmm.
I was like 2 and 3 years old, and I go, you've never seen Billy Joel? Like, he's like, no, I listen to Rush. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I was never a real big concert goer, to be honest with you. I'm more of a guy. I'm a guy that would rather be playing instead of watching somebody else play.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
I will tell you this. I have now, since we've met, I have been to more Billy Joel concerts than every other type of concert I've been to combined. Put it that way.
So how many times have you guys seen him then?
Together?
Sure.
Together at least over
10.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, over 10
Now
together.
she's over, what, 40, 50?
I gotta count. Yes, I thought I was in the 20s somewhere, but I don't know.
I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know. I thought 20s.
But I will tell you this. Out of all of the Billy Joel music, the live stuff is what I love best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
The live.
I am the last play from Shay is my Island album.
Okay.
I think the audio engineering is just amazing.
Mhm.
And we were not there for that. We
No,
were not
yeah.
there for that.
But,
we were not together then. We would have been. If we,
Yeah. You know, and
Yeah.
I've been fortunate, to do the radio show and everything. We've become friends with some of the players.
Yeah.
So as a musician, I've been very blessed to be able to pick their brain from musician side of things, from
Yes.
both the playing side and business side.
Mhm.
And believe it or not, I find myself down in my basement when I'm doing whatever. I'll put on some Billy music.
He'll put on Shea Stadium because
Yeah.
I hear all of a sudden I'll hear scenes from an Italian restaurant coming
Yeah,
from
yeah.
the basement.
And it gets a little bit louder when that comes out. All right, yeah, I've been talking a lot.
So that's how,
I'll
and
let-
that's how it all kind of came to be. We were broadcasting for the first 5 years of our show out of a swampy trailer in East Syracuse, New York. It was a double wide trailer,
Mhm.
and we had the research and opportunity. A friend of ours. Loves Chuck. He's got a great Chuck
Chuck
Berge story.
Berge, big fan.
That's Teddy's thing.
Yeah.
He's got a great Chuck story that has nothing to do with drumming. And it's always Chuck Berge.
And Ken
Pause.
Peschel.
Big fan.
I'm a big fan of Ken Peschel.
Big fan.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody said in the chat that was your catchphrase, Chuck Berge, big fan.
That's
Yep,
yes, that's his
me.
catchphrase.
I mean, the thing is that a lot of people don't realize that all of Billy's musicians have a discography behind them that's pretty amazing.
and that's when we formed the show that I wanted to make sure that got showcased.
Yeah.
Billy's music is there, but we wanted right next to those band members.
Well, the biggest thing that turned us on, I'll be honest with you, because it is a very big, unique story, is the Michael Judas story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I heard and learned about that, that set us off on another level of, hey, let's look at who else got projects.
Mike and his manager Tom are the two people that really
Got us started
and
in
helped
that
us.
direction.
Yeah.
Really?
Without, yeah, they were definitely the two catalysts for us to make connections and be able to start to have those really good conversations, not just me, Hodunk fan, sitting in my basement.
Yeah, 'cause it was from that then led to, looking at Mike's story.
Yep.
Then we were like, okay, what other projects are the band members
And
in?
Mark Rivera had just worked
Yep.
on his album Common Bond.
Yeah.
Yep. Which he had Ringo Starr on that. So we.
And Billy.
Yep. So we, met and interviewed Mark, and then from there we looked. I'm like, oh, Chuck Berge. I started looking at his discography.
Yeah.
He was, Hall and Oates, Rainbow, Richie Blackmore.
Yeah.
And then we found out, wait a minute, you got Andy Ciccone, Billy's bass player, with Chuck Berge. They were in a band of Shotgun Wedding, which we actually sponsored
Did some
a show
shows.
for them up here in Syracuse.
Yeah.
And Wade Preston played with them, who played the role of Billy
I'm
in
moving out.
thousands
I'm
of
moving out.
Yeah.
And Dennis Delgadio was with them, who played in Moving Out. So it was like this big, huge.
Right, and
Yeah.
Dennis was also the backup guitarist at the last play in Shea.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Oh.
he's now in the Lords of 52nd Street.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And Wade
So it's all.
before the Shea days, he doesn't get any credit for it, but Wade did the 6-month prep for that show of the band. He was the stunt Billy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So all of these interconnections of players within the band, old, new, and everything, a ton of them, believe it or not, came through Tommy Burns.
Okay.
And once I started, when I got to the point where they were all comfortable enough to talk a little bit more,
Sure.
the interrelationships of musicians down in the New York City area,
Mm-hmm.
there's a million guys that can play to the level that's required to play out.
Right.
Mm.
The key is, and the catchphrase they used was, "Are they worth the hang?" Can you spend,
Yep.
months at a time on a tour bus with somebody? That's
Yep.
really and truly what makes the difference.
People
as
should
to
think
whether or
about that
not-
when they get married.
Right.
I'm just
You know,
saying.
Teddy, it's so funny you mentioned that. I've got some friends who are actually podcast hosts as well. They host a Metallica podcast called Metal Up Your Podcast. They are Nashville based, and they're also session musicians, songwriters as well. They've toured the world for years, and they both have attested to. They said that we've gotten some gigs without playing a note because getting the audition, they know you can already play. That's already decided. They know you can play, but they bring you in just to see if the vibe is right and if you can hang. And, one of them, he said, I got this gig because I was the only one who said hello to the singer's mother who was there.
Wow.
There you go.
You know what I
Wow.
mean? And
Yeah.
that's what got him the gig. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Hello. How are you doing?
I'm
Yeah,
New York.
from handshake and
Yeah, it's but the love of music in general for me obviously is all encompassing.
Yeah.
And the fact that Melissa gets it, she loves music also. Believe me.
Yeah.
There's some rap songs that she will
I know 90s rap like nothing. I'm the whitest white girl, and I
rattle
can.
stuff off, and I'm like, what are
I
you
know the
doing?
whole Chronic album.
Oh, that's a great record.
Isn't it it is the best
It really
rap
is.
album ever.
Yeah.
I will argue with anybody about that. And I got he looks at me in the car and he goes, "What did you just say?" I'm like, listen,
It's pretty
great.
freaky, but she gets it though. The love of music,
It's
and then
just music,
also the
yeah.
understanding of musicianships and the passion. And that's why the one thing I gotta say about Billy, he is the reason why he is so popular is he's rare. This guy plays, writes his own music,
Yep.
and he truly communicates in his songs like very few writers, singer-songwriters do. That's why he's one of the few. Him. I mean, and
wow.
Yeah.
Did you have a monster before we came down here?
no.
Wow. You have a stop.
Ugh. But I got to admit, even listening to the lyrics, there's messages all through there that you don't really hear. I don't hear nowadays. I mean, they got this new thing called hip singing, where I can't understand the words. And thank God I have Billy to fall back on.
For sure.
yeah.
And a
So-
ton of other.
So tell me about how you guys put each show together. I'm really curious. You know, do you guys plan out the songs far in advance? Are you kind of calling audibles while you're in the basement? How does that go for you?
It's so funny that you
we're
should say
Audible
that.
Central.
No.
Oh, I got a good
No.
one. All right.
We didn't used to be. I'll let her go.
Let
She'll
me
go.
go with this. So when you guys started, I said, it was a couple weeks ago, I'm sitting in the living room and I said, listen, there's these two guys, they just started a podcast. I want to help them promote this podcast. It's great.
Oh, you're going to actually go there.
I'm going to go there. Of course I'm going to go there. So he looks at me and he goes, really? Why? I go, because it's great. He
I
goes,
didn't say really.
yes,
why.
you did. And he goes,
Oh.
well,
So,
What is
friends,
it?
real
What is-
quick, if you haven't listened to their show, this is it right now.
this is the...
Wow.
And Ken's still watching. This is husband-wife banter that so this is where I got in trouble. So Teddy goes, well, what do they do that we don't that you're going to promote them? I said, well, they talk about like details of the albums and they get really into stuff. And he starts laughing at me. And he goes, so it's like a Billy Joel show about, you know, Billy Joel. I said, well, yeah. He goes, you know, like we used to be. I go, wait a minute. What? He goes,
Burn.
no, now it's just the Melissa show. Melissa talks about her and her friends and her life. Wait a
We
minute.
just happened to play
And we
Billy
just
music in between.
Play Billy Joel in between your life. I go, what? So he goes, I've had a couple people tell me that it's a little bit, you know, your wife's life and then Billy. I go, oh my God. So I started to think and I'm thinking, okay.
It's the Melissa and Friends show.
I could see where some might say that. So then I'm having like 3 weeks of anxiety going,
Now you're self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right. Like you got to balance the personality and you got to balance the music and how much do I want to repeat myself?
You
And
answer his question.
I am answering his question.
You're in a
So
long way around.
one of the things Teddy said to me was, well, you know, you sit there and you spend 5 minutes and you throw this list together and you don't know what you're talking about. Wait
I
a
never.
minute.
Oh no!
Oh,
I
you
never
did.
said you don't know what
Oh.
you're talking about. No, I
Oh.
did not. What I said
Oh.
is you have not been spending the time to put the shows together as of late, like you used to.
Okay,
And that
now
I think we should add more Billy actual content and fact.
when I'm
based.
putting the show together, 9 times out of 10, Teddy's at a gig on a Saturday night.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
That, yeah, that's
Or
common.
somewhere else, and I'm in the living room, I'm in the kitchen putting the show together.
Mhm.
I have done everything from I will pick a number out of a hat, and that number I will go through every album from Cold Springs Harbor to River of Dreams, and I will pick that number track.
Uh-huh.
Those are the most interesting shows I've done because the songs that line up, it's very random how they turn out. Another one of my favorites to do is I do like a numbers show. So I'll do, all right, his career spanned, 22 years of acting albums. So if we do even numbers, how many years were hits in even
Interesting.
months? There was a couple weeks ago I did one. It was like, how many months did he have hit songs and what months did he not have an album come out? And like weird little factual things like that I've
Yeah.
sit in my own brain
It
figuring out.
happens once in a while. As
When
of
I
lately.
shush,
It used
shush,
to
I'm
happen a
talking
lot.
now. You talk. So
This is
the
awesome.
list itself, I try to look at it like musically putting things together. Also, I try to find songs if there's something topically like in the world going on. Like the past couple shows we've played, "Keeping the Faith" is the last song, just because of the current state of the world.
Yeah.
Sure, sure.
And anything like that we try to pull in. We will ask fans if they have like, this is your request and dedication. I want to be like Casey Kasem someday. So it's kind of that flow type of thing. The Grammys, we've done shows like that before.
Sure.
We found clips, and we were talking quickly about this yesterday. Whenever I find something that I want to put into a show, I will spend hours picking out the tiniest little breath or or whatever. So when you find clips, like one of my favorite movies is The Ringer with Johnny Knoxville.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
there's a scene in the movie, if you haven't seen it, you need to see it,
Billy Joel.
where they're
1975.
talking about Billy Joel.
Uh-huh.
And it's 7 seconds. So to get just that 7 seconds and use that for an intro into a song,
Yeah.
the editing piece of it, I just don't have the patience.
Well, I get stuck doing it.
And then he doesn't do it, so then we don't have it. So,
That's not
but
true. Wait a minute. I have a couple years ago. All right, when we would go into the station all the time. I had picked and done a bunch of these clips and sat down, especially when there's a birthday. If it's a birthday, like whoever's birthday in the band,
we did those.
We
yes.
would. What? You're screwing up my train of thought.
Ken's knocking it out of the park with comments. He says marriage is a long tour bus ride and hashtag husband and wife banter. But just wanted to throw those.
We love Ken. Ken tunes in every Sunday, and he's like the silent person that like sits there and will say, you know, they might need marriage counseling. Like, help. When he needs to interject, they need to help them.
I will tell you this right now. I am, you know, not that I'm embarrassed or maybe a little bit. Sometimes we have gotten a little bit too much. None of it, I will tell you, none of it's fake.
So we are about as
sometimes
real as
I
you
really
get.
am upset with her, and sometimes she has no filter and no way to stop, and I just get quiet, and that's the end. And I, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I see where you get comfortable for sometimes.
We always say that I was told by a couple of people that Billy knows about our show, and that
probably heard our fights. And
right. I'm like, oh God, what show did he hear? Because that could go a lot. Go to SoundCloud and find a good one.
I will tell you this. I don't know if it was 4 or 5 shows ago. Mm-hmm. We literally, and I probably shouldn't admit this.
What do you want to say?
Like, we were literally screaming at each other. Like, mad. I'm serious mad. When the engineer at the radio station was cueing us.
Oh, man.
We calmed down, you know, and calmed down.
As soon as my mic
and as soon as the show's over, it's silent in the house for like 2 hours.
Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough.
I will say this. We always come back and rediscuss and talk about things. And
this has nothing to do with Billy Joel. This is not a marriage
I guess what I was trying
podcast.
to get to was, in reference, I think there's certain ways that the show should be a little bit more Billy. All right, like Cold Springs Harbor. When we play a song from there, we should talk about
the fact that it was produced and it was too fast.
Right. Well, who was the producer? When was it produced? Give a little bit of
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what he's. Yes.
And I'll tell you, Joe Van Dagel.
Okay, so we have a listener who's based out of Chicago, and he used to do radio. He offered his services. He will do shows for us if we are ever out of town or if we just want to break. His shows are fantastic. Like, we listen to them and I go, we are hacks.
You guys are giving facts about the songs.
Right. I'm like, we're a bunch of hacks. We're awful.
That's why it's the banter show with us, and it's, you know, but I
say all the time, I'm like,
but it makes it unique. It makes it unique.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to get syndicated. He goes, we are never getting syndicated. Yeah. It's never going to happen. Nobody wants this crap. I'm like, I want.
Well, even with us, when we started, I think about a year ago is when I decided I wanted to do something like this. But when we started, I'm like, okay, production value is good. I think it's interesting, but of course I think it's interesting, but is anyone else going to care about this?
Right.
And that was my big fear going into it. I'm like, is anyone going to resonate with this at all, or is it just going to be 2 guys nerding out way too much about Billy Joel?
I love that you guys are on literally 2 different sides of the country. Like, I'm sitting here looking at the 2 of you, and I'm fascinated.
We are 3,000 miles away all the time.
Have it all together like that. We sit right next to each other, and our stuff's not together, and you 2 are on opposite coasts, and it's amazing what you do.
And we literally spoke for the first time on New Year's Eve. So, like,
what?
Real? Wow.
How did you guys connect to each other?
So it was the Billy Joel Completely Retold group.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it's like a family. It's like
So I had reached out to Mike Stutz last year. I'm like, is this something you'd be interested in doing? And early on he was, but he just didn't have the time and the bandwidth to do it. I said, well, this group is a wealth of fans. I said, do you mind if I just put the word out that I'm looking for a co-host and see what happens? He's like, oh yeah, go for it. So I put the word out and had like 10, 15 people reach out to me right away. And Jack was, I think, the very first one. the timing was just so. And so we chatted for about 20 minutes, just texted back and forth. And I said, well, why don't we talk this week and see if we kind of jive on the phone, and if the feeling is there and it works well. And so we talked for like an hour and a half, and we just mutually were like, yeah, I think this is good. What do you think? And that was it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
Mike Stutz
See, mine took a marriage to come together. We had to go legal.
Mike Stutz has been amazing for us. He, the show's been in jeopardy a couple of times just because of finances and the way of the world and different things. And literally, Mike started I think it was a GoFundMe page or a PayPal fundraising page, and our fans came out of the woodwork, and he just, on his own, all of a sudden he calls me, he goes, just want to let you know what I did. And I love him.
It was pretty humbling, right there.
And that group of people,
it's amazing. Yeah.
And that's why, because of that we need to make the show as best as we can, and I get upset sometimes.
Understandable. And it's hard for me too. I'm kind of, we found a way to kind of share editing duties, because since we're not live typically,
yeah,
we throw out topics back and forth. We spend our time individually researching and dump it all into a document and sort it. And then we'll record for 2 hours or so. He'll send me his audio file, since, like I said, we're never in the same room. He'll send me his audio file. We record our own audio, so I'll sync the conversation up. And depending on who's got the workload that week, either he or I will take the conversation and chop it up and edit it down. And if we go on a tangent that's a little too far in left field, we'll pull it out or whatever. So we'll kind of trim the conversation up and get it sitting right. He'll send it back to me, and I'll listen for audio cues, and I'll lace in music where it makes sense, or interviews or whatnot, and just kind of do a final mix. And then that's how it goes.
You can get into a lot of editing and a lot of hours to produce that. And I guess we're lucky in a certain way that because it's live radio that we're on, I got an hour and I'm done. It's over. You know what I mean? Once the signal's out, I suppose if we did a podcast, my workload would increase tremendously. But I don't know if people actually realize when you edit audio, especially in that context, and you're making up a show, depending on what you're looking for, and not to use a bad term, or how neurotic you want to be about it.
I'm pretty neurotic about it, yeah.
Yeah, that's when you get perfectionist.
Days worth of work to put an hour show on.
Yep.
Because, we're getting smoother at the transitioning and conversation, but there's still the ums, the the ands, or like early on we would say, that's interesting, like 1,000,000 times. And it's like, okay, everything's not that interesting. So let's pull some of that out and all of that, So we would figure out some of our little ticks that we would try and pull out, or the too many deep breaths, yank those out and things like that. And so it's getting a little smoother, but I mean, the episode we tracked last week, I think I'm 2 days in, and of an hour and 20-minute episode, I think I'm 25 minutes into it.
Wow. Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. Have you guys, I'm assuming, maybe not though, you heard our opening musical montage?
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I like it. I like that it kind of ping pongs back and forth with some of the songs. It's funny, lately I've been listening more to your stream.
Okay.
So I haven't heard the intro in a while. So I've been watching, the live stream. But I like it.
That intro took me 3 days. It's 17 seconds. It's what? A minute
and 12 seconds.
A minute and 12 seconds long. It took me 3 days to edit it.
He woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and went, honey, I got something. I'm like, we're rich. We won the lotto. He goes, I got the intro done. I'm like, 3 o'clock in the morning. I gotta go teach second graders what's happening.
The ums and the ahs and this, that, it's the vocal part that I laid down in the beginning was actually the most difficult part, to make it sound like you say it into the microphone, and then you listen back, and like, do I even know how to speak the English language?
Right.
And you just retake and edit, and I got to tell you, I commend you for doing that because it is a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think part of my philosophy behind it is in the podcast world. I mean, there's not a million Billy Joel podcasts, but there's a million podcasts out there. Like it seems like everyone and their brother has a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to stand out. I said, well, if we're going to do this, I want it to be like rock solid production value. I want it to sound good, sound clean and succinct. And I really wanted the production value to be high. So that's kind of where my brain was with it. I said, okay, we set the bar on the first episode. I said, okay, we need it. That's kind of the example going forward.
Yeah.
Well, it is.
You guys you're wonderful, and all of the information that you bring and that you cover, and it's a wonderful thing. And you guys are. I'm so glad that you're like a part of that. I don't know. I really do consider it like a family.
Yeah.
Just got me.
You got bit by a mosquito.
Oh,
It's a wonderful. The more people I think that are keeping Billy in mainstream radio, so-called play, the better. So I'm so glad, and like I said, anything that we can do to continue to help promote you.
Yeah, I'm the same with you. Absolutely.
I sent a lot of people your way today, so hopefully they're all listening to me.
Oh, that's great.
People think they're here with me; they're afraid, so they. Okay, I better do that. Melissa said to do it. We got.
What's right? What's actually been really fun about this is we, I'm 40 and I've been a fan my whole life, but I hear these songs, in these shows and everything with a different hat on. So I'm now thinking about them with like content for the podcast. And so I'm picking new things out that I either have forgotten about or may have missed over thousands of listens. So I'm still uncovering brand new things every time we do an episode, which is exciting.
It is kind of neat. I mean, just little tidbits that you go, oh, I didn't know that. And it is kind of amazing, like you said, being, I'm Teddy's, how old are you? You'll be 53?
Like, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be 50. I just turned 41.
When's my birthday?
I don't know when your birthday is. So
Exactly.
you kind of do pick up on new things all the time. And I love when people will say, Billy Joel did that? Or Billy Joel was involved in that? Or what do you mean? And you find it randomly reading something, which I love.
Oh yeah, it's so cool. And to your point earlier, how you were talking about, just the varied amount of people who know his music, listen to his music, and I've heard stories about you could have 4 generations of people in a car, and a Billy Joel song comes on, and they'll all know it. Somebody might be a Megadeth fan, somebody might be an NWA fan, somebody might be a.
Oh, we lost you guys for 1 second here. But while we're waiting for them to come back online, thanks everybody for hanging out. We got a little while longer here with Teddy and Melissa from Songs in the Attic. And all right, just gonna give me 1 second here. I'm gonna get everybody else up and running. So as I've said, the whole live streaming thing is pretty new to us. The podcasting is new as well. We just started this at the beginning of this year, and we've been doing our best to keep it going. So once everything
Which is kind of what prompted us to do some of the live stuff here, because we're like, well, there's nowhere else to go.
That's right. We'll try it.
Yeah. So it's been pretty fun, but we've yeah, we're having a blast for it. We with it we we're always like kind of you're trying to come up with different angles for episodes and things like that. Like we're digging into we got one coming out in a couple weeks or so where we're talking about like 1994. So we're digging into like just a year, and you'd be surprised, when you think, it's like, okay, what happened in that year? There's not even an album that came out that year, and we're finding that like, okay, we've got more than enough.
Yeah.
Especially between 71 and like 97, there was so much going on every year that it's been interesting to pull different things out.
Yeah, sometimes what you got to do is pick a thing and go with it, and you find a lot. It's like that middle circle, and then you spin off around it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. So it's fun, and we go off on our little tangents as well, and
But we don't know anything about that. We don't know anything about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always been really interesting, especially when we did like that 94 episode. I was a little concerned about doing it. I was like, man, I don't know how I would even approach researching this, and then you realize that was the year he stopped a song in the middle of the Grammys and stuff like that.
Well, that was one of the greatest Grammy moments ever.
Oh yeah.
We have that. Teddy, that took him hours to do too. Right at the exact moment, we took the album version and we put that in, and then it kept going.
So when the song went off over the air, it was a Grammy episode.
It was the Grammys.
And I made that whole thing move.
It fit like it did right
in.
at the Grammys. It was awesome.
That's hilarious.
Right. Yeah.
He's had an interesting relationship with the Grammys over the years.
Yes. I still can't believe, like, I look at, I don't know, it's kind of like I get on a tangent about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think you can it's the similar type of thing. And I frankly think nowadays they've all lost their value. I think that if there's no set criteria that is publicly known and they can't be justified, then the value of what the award really means is gone.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and it's a TV show. All these things, like it's a TV show for ratings. And I remember reading a story back like in 1990 when Stormfront was out, and they wanted him to open the show. At first, they wanted him to lip sync it.
Really?
Yeah, and he was mid-tour. Actually, he was playing Detroit. I saw him the same week, and he was right in the middle of the tour, and he's like, if you're going to drag me all the way out to LA or whatever to do this, he's like, I'm going to play live, and I'm going to play with my band. That's it. Like, that's the only way I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's his loyalty right there. I mean, I even love back in the day when he's like, I am not using studio musicians. I want my guys, my band, we're recording this together as a group. Yep. And that speaks to him so much. I mean, that quote goes through my head multiple times a day when kind of just generally approaching life. Like, you stick with the people that are there for you, and you don't betray them, and you stay loyal to that, because there's nothing like that in the world.
No, you're right. And that was what was so important of finding somebody who got that in Phil Ramone. He was the one guy who said, your band is fantastic. Yep. I know how I can make this sound great on a record. Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he passed up on Sir George Martin to do it, just to use his own people, is such a, like, it's such a, I mean, like, it's, you hear it now and you're like, well, of course, but then you have to remember, like, back then he was like in danger of being dropped, and that's the move he made.
Well, and especially the fact that the Beatles were such like Billy's biggest idols in reference to modern music and everything, and here he is telling the producer, "Nah, I'm not doing what you say."
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, that was a pretty bold move, but obviously the right one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and the thing with Billy, like you said, now like the guys in his band, they're all seasoned, incredible musicians. Billy's guys, Topper as it were, incredible players, but were only known for being in a local band on Long Island.
Yep.
So as incredible as they weren't session players. They weren't seasoned as far as the industry goes. So everyone that came along was like, no, I'm going to use my people who are these guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But I will say that they obviously made incredible music.
Yeah.
You can never take that away. And the other thing that I have noticed, especially doing the engineering for the radio show, and I'm sure, well, actually, I don't know if you guys have ever looked at the actual.
What are you doing?
What is your? Hush.
Oh.
That's awful. I don't have a good frame going on in here.
Have you guys ever seen the digital audio signal from Billy's albums? Or
This is interesting.
Now, maybe I can show it next week or whatever. So you play all his older albums pre what was the 1982 album there?
The Nylon Curtain?
Yes.
Even that was depending on the track.
Well, right.
The bridge is the one really
so
good, I think.
The digital audio signal has a ton of highs and lows and peaks from all those early albums because of the analog recordings.
Yeah.
Once they went and recorded digital, you look at the digital footprint, it is basically a brick that runs right across the screen where, everything is compressed and then regained. Yeah. And it does not give you the texturing of the music is the way they truly intend it. And I actually had the engineer, when we first started doing the signal from the house, from our basement, the engineer said, well, I'm not getting any signal. I go, that's because the song is very soft in this section.
Right.
And you literally, we're talking 10 decibel change.
Oh, yeah.
On the signal throw. And it really, I now, in order to boost the signal on the softer parts, I ride the faders when I'm sending the signal up to the radio station.
Yeah.
Where was I going with that?
I don't know. All
right.
No, I totally get it too. And it's, if you look at the audio signal of say the most recent remasters that were done, and it's the same thing. It's like those things are just slamming the highs, and it's just so peaked. And this has been such a problem for a long time. Like in the 2000s, it got really bad. The whole thing they call the loudness war.
Yeah.
And one of the worst examples of it is Metallica. One of my favorite bands of all time. They had an album come out in 2008 that was done by Rick Rubin. Great producer. This album was so compressed and so slammed. The levels were so slammed.
Really?
It's like a 70-minute record, and it's just like the dBs are like the same the whole way through. It's
what
album,
texturing of music. Gotcha.
What album was it?
It's called Death Magnetic.
Okay.
And it's so compressed that I don't listen to it that often because your ears just get so fatigued because you're just getting hammered with the same thing for 60 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love their S&M album. That's my favorite.
Incredible. My wife and I just in September, we flew down. They did an S&M 2 20th anniversary in San Francisco, and I've been a member of their fan club for a long time, and I was able to get tickets to the second night.
Oh, I would love to see that.
Incredible.
I bet. Yeah. Yeah, that's a bucket list.
Yeah, it was amazing. The stage was in the middle of the floor and it rotated, and the orchestra was in a complete 360 with the drum riser in the middle, and the band had mics throughout the whole orchestra, and they just moved around all night.
Oh, yeah, that had to be amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, I mean,
incredible.
The album was good, but just hearing anything like that live is such a different experience. Just being in the room where they're moving the air is such a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild. It was wild, and yeah, just incredible, incredible. One of my probably top 5 all-time shows.
What was your? I got both of you. I know we briefly talked on this, but you guys have seen Billy before. Do you have any standout moments or performances within a show, or even like a whole show that you saw that was like, oh my gosh, that's the greatest of any ones that I've ever seen him do or perform?
Ooh. How about you, Jack?
Yeah, I was about to say I'll go first because I have seen him way less than you lucky fellows. But
It's not a contest.
No, thank God, because you guys started talking last. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna work the board here.
We'll forgive you because you live in Philly.
Yeah. I wasn't there for the MMR show. It just doesn't matter after that, you know. But when I saw him in 2009 and he did Zanzibar, it just occurred to me that, you know, who else could bring a moment like that trumpet solo?
Carl Fisher.
Yeah.
Right. Who else could bring that to a stadium and then just transform the entire venue for the length of those two solos? It was just that was really just such an amazing moment. I mean, I saw him in Nassau Coliseum in the 90s, and that was great because it was the hometown show. But that was just the way you just felt like you were in like Europe or something for one song, and then you came back and you were back in Philly, you know.
That's awesome.
That's
Probably my most memorable would be the first show I saw, which was February 1990 Stormfront tour at the Palace of Auburn Hills, which they just tore down like a year or two ago. Yeah. So I think it was my first concert ever. So there's a lot of memories wrapped up in that, you know.
Sure.
And it was, you know, it was like a hybrid of the classic band and the newer band, you know, because you had Liberty, you still had David Brown on guitar, but Crystal and Tommy were there, Mark was there, so it was kind of a hybrid. And Stormfront has such a great energy, and those songs sound really good live. So that was super exciting. I think I was 10 years old. I remember wearing the shirt, you know, the next morning to 4th grade class, and I think one thing I remember about that show too is I want to say it was this show. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the show started with everything under the stage.
Really?
Like the stage
up.
was empty. Like the piano comes up, the drums come up, everything comes up.
Yep.
I want to say Liberty's drum riser was stuck.
Oh, really?
Oh, geez.
That's
not
Oh my God.
So the trap door opens.
Mm-hmm.
Billy starts coming up. The song starts. Liberty starts playing. You can see his arms, but the drums are just under the lip of the stage still, and they're just trying to get it up. I want to say it was this show, and they finally got it to go, and it came up, and I think they had a laugh about it, but that was like the way it all started.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
What about you, honey? Have a moment?
Yeah.
A moment?
Like a favorite moment of a Billy Joel show?
Yes. Your birthday.
Yeah, my birthday was pretty good.
She finally got to
My 40th birthday.
be like
In the front.
the only person. Her and Billy was a security guard.
And he was very nice. He didn't mind that I was like staring in his face.
Seeing her at the garden, like right up front at the stage, seeing the look on her face, that was my
Priceless. Yeah.
It was just seeing her so happy. That was mine.
I remember it just made me think. It occurred to me. I was lucky. I worked with Liberty for a number of years, and he used to invite me to shows, but before he did, I would buy tickets just because I didn't want to like assume anything.
Sure.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, sell your tickets. I got you. I'm like, okay, cool. So in Michigan, they were playing 2 nights, and they were both super memorable because the first night I took my mom, who was the reason she got me into Billy Joel. She Glass Houses, you know, she had the album and all of that. So I took her to the show, and brought her backstage to meet Liberty and say hi and all that. And my mom was a teacher too. She was an art teacher for several years in Michigan. Yeah, and so after that, before the show started, we walked out from the backstage, and she sees some teacher she worked with.
Oh, there's a moment.
And so she was like all excited. She's like, "Yeah, they just saw me come out from backstage. That's pretty cool."
Yeah, that's right. Look at me.
Love it.
And so the following night, I brought my friend Donnie Brown, who is a drummer as well. Do you guys remember a band in the 90s called the Verve Pipe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Freshman. I got a great story about that song.
That's them. So Donnie was the drummer for the Verve Pipe.
Oh my God.
Yep. And so I knew he was a big fan as well. And it's funny because I knew the guys on and off over the years, and I worked with them for a long time, but I was a fan of the Verve Pipes as well. And so to bring Donnie to a show and watch him geek out over a Billy Joel show, and he's like, I remember he's like, "Hey, if I bring my copy of The Stranger, you think Liberty will sign it for me?" I said, "Of course." I said, "Yeah." I'm like, "Wait, you got people asking to have you sign albums, and you're now the other guy." I said, "That's." It was a cool moment, and so yeah, he brought his album to the show and introduced the two, and I have it's a terrible photo, but I've got a photo of the three of us behind his drum kit before the show.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
He was just on Seventh Heaven. It was so fun.
I'll tell you, Liberty has come up with some of the most
iconic.
one of the most iconic intros. I'm sure you guys know what song I'm talking about.
Which one's coming to mind for you? There's so many. I'm trying to narrow it down.
Yeah.
Come out, Virginia. Don't let me wait.
Well, Good Die Young.
Please don't say.
Which was a rip off of Up in the Skies.
Yeah.
Yes.
That drum fill in the beginning, like as soon as that starts, everybody knows what song it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then the story that Billy tells, he's told it in his master classes and many interviews.
Yeah.
It was
How
supposed to be a
he
reggae
was
song.
originally going to write it as a reggae song, and
Liberty said,
"Yeah, the closest you've been to Jamaica is Jamaica Queen."
"This Jamaica station."
And he goes, "Yeah, what would you do?" And he did that riff, and that's how that song came out.
Yeah.
And that is an iconic groove. That song. It's not a straightforward four hi-hat, bass drum, boom, boom.
Right.
It was a great groove,
It's kind of backwards. It's got like just still a hint of that reggae in it, just in where he drops the bass drum.
A little bit, yep.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
It's funny too. At the end of scenes from an Italian restaurant, that last big fill he does is like is a close cousin to that, where it's the same. It starts with the bass drum and it's like kind of a broken up triplet kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You want to see my?
No, they're on a show.
Right here. There you go.
Oh.
Here's my drum set.
Awesome.
You can see this
perfect.
morning.
That's perfect. Yeah. Easy load in for you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, easy. Yeah.
Best thing that happened. Right
he married me for my health insurance, and that I helped carry his stuff at gigs. That's why he married me.
Rarely. I'm not going to say never. Rarely.
That's awesome.
I corrected myself.
So to your point about like Only the Good Die Young and Liberty kind of laying into Billy about it, and that's why I think all the players past present are incredible, but I think that's why it was so important to have the guys who played on those records play on those records, because they were going to tell him exactly what they thought was the best approach. They weren't pulling punches. They were doing the best thing for the song, and they weren't afraid to say what they thought.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's as a musician, one of as a drummer, obviously the reason I started to play drums, Neil Peart from Rush, he never put anything on an album that he could not pull off live.
Yeah.
Which, if you listen to Rush, is pretty freaking amazing. Eddie Lee, I don't know what to say about the man. He just does so much, but they each take a personal part. Neil with 2112 had.
Yep.
Oh, look at that big huge drum kit. Well, yeah, because each piece, each note, each sound that is played is reproduced by somebody, and that's with Billy when he put his music together. No, these are my guys. This is how we sound, and this is the sound that I want to represent. That I want to represent me. I give them all the credit in the world. So.
Absolutely. So, Melissa, I don't think we touched on your favorite moment or show.
I have a lot of.
What time is it?
I have a lot of ones in the opposite direction.
This is hard for her because
it is hard.
A lot to pick from.
Well, I have a lot to pick from. My birthday was definitely one. I'll be honest with you. I always love watching people watch Billy for the first time.
Yes.
Interesting.
Because it's almost like whenever we go to New York City, and I go because I cry every time I drive into the city, and I cry when I'm leaving. But to see someone that's never seen that skyline before, or never seen Times Square before.
The first time it's pretty breathtaking.
Yeah.
It is, and just to even just to see someone that's never. We brought friends of ours down, and they've never seen him, and I'm like, "What did you think? What did you think? What was your favorite part? What did you love?" I'm like the news, like the paparazzi after
like
the
the
show.
first time you see a cab driver run over a bicycle rider.
Not really, but no. So I love that. My birthday definitely, and prior to that show, there was a lot of. I was upset for a while because there are very few things in life that I really want, and I was like, I just would like to be in the front once.
Mm-hmm.
And I got there, so it was kind of one of those I can't believe I'm really here moments.
Yeah.
So I think that was, and then when one of the band members looked down and saw us from the stage, that was kind of cool too.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's a special moment. Yeah. I've been close for Billy a time or two, but a couple years ago I was essentially front row for Metallica, and I've seen them like a dozen times, but they have this thing when they play stadiums called the Snake Pit. So it's the big stage up top, and then they've got ramps going down either side that kind of come to a point, and then there are people in the middle of it.
Ooh.
And they raffle off through their fan club passes to go in the Snake Pit. And for their show in Seattle a couple years ago, I happened to win passes to go into the Snake Pit. And there's no security guy between you and the ramp or anything, and you're just like from me to the computer screen to the stage, and there's 70,000 people there, but you feel like you're all alone because it's just there's no barrier.
That's awesome.
I mean, I was getting fist bumps and guitar picks, and I was like, "This is incredible."
That's awesome.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah, it was so fun. There's something. I mean, I'll see a show from any place in the venue, but there's something when you have that up close, you feel like you're kind of having that private experience. It's so fun.
And I don't ever need, and I said this after we were last March for my birthday, I'm like, I'm good now. Let other people come up here. I'm whatever. There's one section at the Garden that I love to sit in. I like 115 and 103, I think.
I actually like the section dead behind the band.
I love behind the stage.
It could be in the first two sections.
My favorite.
It's almost like, and I'll tell you, now that's one person I want to meet and pick his brain.
Brian Ruggles.
Brian Ruggles.
Yeah.
My wife calls me a gear creeper.
He's a creeper.
We'll go to the.
He stands by the board,
and I want to go. I go over to the board, and I want to see what type of
he's
board
like
they're
creeping
using.
over.
See if I can pick out which effects they have plugged in.
I'm like, leave them alone. Stop it.
I love it.
Well, and you got right there the longest tenured guy.
Yes. Right.
I mean, he's every musician, every band, everything, every tour. He was there, and so his stories, I'm sure, are incredible.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. And you know what? There is not I've tried to look on the internet to find stuff about Brian in reference to his mixing techniques. Gear he uses or tutorials or whatever. And there's not much at all. Barely anything. One guy that I did some tutorials with, Dave Rath. What? Tutorials. That's how they are? Shut up. What? Okay, so what's it called?
Tutorial.
See, she's a jerk. Don't wipe that at you. Thanks for being supportive, honey. Appreciate that.
You can cut this all out if they want.
Whatever. This is what really happens. Hey, I went to Henniger High School, graduated in 1985. It's a tutorial.
Coming from the non-Italian.
Tutorial? No, it's a tutorial. What? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
So I learned how to do it.
Yeah. Anyway, Dave Ratt, big sound engineer guy. He's got a lot of stuff out there. But Brian Ruggles, man, what he does live, like the Carrier Dome is horrible audio facility.
Oh, the Carrier Dome's horrific.
And Brian Ruggles,
one of the worst.
His ungodly job in that place.
Yeah.
So the guy's got just a block. I mean, just knowledge, yin yang. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I beat him. Even if it's just to tell him what a fan of him I am.
Yeah.
He's pretty amazing.
Yeah, maybe you do a tutorial and tell him.
It's really not a tutorial. Tutorial.
See, we learn something every day with this.
Right, she's a teacher. I learned.
I've been quarantined too long. This is what's happening.
Cornhole. I mean,
getting close to the borderline.
Close to the borderline. That's right.
That's right.
Too much pressure.
Pressure. All right. Good night, Melissa. Instead of good night, Saigon. You're no Uptown Girl.
Time for my lullaby.
Big shot.
My life.
You may be right.
I am right. I can't say anything against that.
She's got a way.
You picked a real bad time.
I've loved these days.
Life's still young.
Well, you know what they say.
Don't ask me why.
Oh, come on!
Still rocker. Right.
Endless.
All right.
Sorry, we just railroaded.
Getting weird now.
We railroaded, like, it's almost 11 o'clock.
Yeah, that was an amazing run of songs. I didn't even want to try.
I just wanted to let you go. I'm like,
we did that. I was a friend of ours, Todd Greenstein, when we were driving down there, him and I were texting song, like, just titles, and we had a whole conversation in just song titles. It was hysterical.
That's funny.
Yeah. It was good.
Did you know my friend down there, Bob Sacramento?
We're big Seinfeld people.
If you don't know that reference, we can't be friends.
Yeah.
Right.
My friend Bob Sacramento.
That's right, baby.
Right.
From Bob Sacramento.
That's our other passion in life.
Oh my God! Can I tell you? We've seen every episode at least 10 times.
We saw Larry David at a Billy show.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, really?
Garden. I met Larry David at the Garden at a Billy show.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Oh man, that's a.
And
he saw Ray Romano. I wouldn't let him talk to Ray Romano.
Wouldn't talk to Ray Romano.
Because he put his foot up. I'm like, he wants to be left alone. Don't go bother him. He's like, Ray Romano. I go, I don't care. He literally looked at you and put his head up.
Larry David is quirky. I will tell you that.
Oh my God.
Nice guy.
So funny.
Then we met his wife and his kids.
Oh, you guys are drummers.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a story real quick. I know it's running late. I got time for one more?
Yeah.
All right, so show at the Garden. We go out afterwards. We go to where we go? Ray's Pizza, like 3:30 in the morning after the bar, after the show, blah, blah, blah.
There's always Rays.
Yep. So
There's always Rays. That's right.
Famous Rays or
Famous
Not
original Rays.
not original Rays? Original famous Rays? No.
It's just original, Jerry.
Right? So we walk in, and all of a sudden this couple comes in, and this one blonde, hammered,
I have no patience at all.
bumps into her,
Not a good idea.
and I will tell you this, Melissa has outwardly, like, no filter sometimes. like you hear her. So she looks over at me, and she's like, I go, what? She goes, this woman, blah, blah, blah. And I look over, and I'm like, oh, my God. And she goes, what? And I go, you see who that is? And I go, she goes, what? So I walk over to the guy that comes in with her. And I just kind of stand there, and I look up at him
Like a creeper.
like a creeper,
Well, as you
and
do.
I look over him. I said, "Oh, that's right, yeah." I go, "Hey," "Your name's Taylor, isn't it?" And he looks at me and he goes, and he puts me in a headlock and he goes, "You know who I am." He starts giving me a noogie. It was Taylor Hawkins.
Oh, that's
Oh
incredible.
wow.
And I go, "Dude," I go, I'm a big fan. I go, "I really, do you mind if I get a picture?" He goes, "Ah." And so we turn around and we were talking for like, I don't know, 30, 45 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
And I turn around and the girl that bumped into her is now sitting down at the table with her talking. It's Taylor Hawkins' wife.
Oh, that's incredible.
We sit down
45 minutes.
45. Taylor just goes. He
We had
sits
dinner
down.
together.
We had dinner together.
Talk about Liberty. Oh, yeah, we
He's
had.
a
that's
huge
great.
Liberty
Loved
fan.
Yeah.
Liberty.
Loved
Huge
Liberty.
Liberty fan.
But
Oh, that's incredible.
starts talking about Dave Grohl and
How they don't get along sometimes, like divulging all this stuff. And
oh my God! But it was Taylor Hawkins.
now they had just played, the Foo Fighters played 2 nights back to back.
The night before
played.
Billy's show.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
He stayed and went to the Billy show and obviously went to Famous Rays, Famous Original
Right
Rays
after,
I'm
that's
gonna find
amazing.
that
after the
picture
show
and
afterwards. But I met him and
Ah,
let me tell you, it was meeting and sitting down for 45 minutes with Taylor Hawkins. That was like,
that's incredible.
That's
He's
great.
a pretty
Yeah.
awesome guy too.
oh,
Wow.
super nice guy, very humble,
Very humble.
like
Yeah.
but definitely likes to drink. We had fun, man.
That's a
Yeah.
We
great
had a lot
story,
of
man.
fun.
That's awesome.
Wow, that's
Yeah, just
so
that he reacted that great too, just like from jump is pretty cool.
Put me right in a headlock, gave me a nugget. Yeah, you know I am, don't you?
I go, and when I looked at him at first, I go, it looks like Dave Grohl with blonde hair, and then to come up with the fact that it was like drummer, I'm like, oh my God, it's Taylor Hawkins.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was very cool, very cool.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yep.
It's fun when you get to meet somebody like that you just have respected and liked for so long. And like you said, you hope it doesn't break the bubble, and you're like,
Yes.
oh,
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
thought about that. Yes.
Yeah, there's been locally here. There was a guy that I kind of admired a little bit, and then when I finally met him, man, he was a real
Not nice person.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like that was it. You know, it kind of ruins the feeling. You know?
Yeah. I interviewed a drummer that I greatly admired, and he didn't like my first question, which I didn't think was that bad of a question. It was just like a real rote question, and he didn't want to answer it again. And I was like, where am I? I was like this close to just hanging up. I was going to be like, you know what? I'll put somebody else in this month. Like, if I'm bothering you that bad, we're not going to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met. I'll tell you who was super super nice. Virgil Donati.
Oh, really?
oh,
Very humble.
Uh-huh.
Believable guy. I went to one of his master classes, and I was fortunate that I knew the guy that sponsored. My buddy Boop owns a music center here in Syracuse, and they sponsored Virgil coming up.
Liberty
Yeah.
came up here and did a clinic up
Liberty
there, too.
did one with
Oh, cool.
Boop.
Oh, cool.
Yep. He's had quite a few. Mike Mangini.
Yeah.
I sent you a picture of Teddy and Taylor.
I'm
Everett.
going to pull this up, yeah.
Yep, that's he's a great guy.
That's cool. I talked to Maceo Parker from P-Funk and James Brown. Oh my God, I have like the audio of it. He just went off for 45 minutes. He was just having a ball telling me all these stories, like backstage with George Clinton, getting yelled at by James Brown, just
Man,
everything you could possibly think of. It was the most amazing conversation. I was like gripping like it was over the phone, but I was like gripping the edge of my seat. Like you don't want to say anything to ruin that flow, but you
Yeah.
got to make sure he knows you're still there. And it was so cool.
you said
was
you
fun.
worked with Liberty for a few years.
I did. I met him 20 years ago this year. He and I lived in the same town in Florida for a number of years, and I had ordered his drum book from his website, and it was like autographed, and so it came to me, and I was familiar enough with his handwriting and his signature that I could tell that he addressed the envelope, and it had the same town as his return address was the same town. I was like, wait a second, we live in the same area? That's insane. So
wow.
so I decided I was gonna just send an email. Just real quickly, and that grew into a business thing when he came to me and asked if I knew anyone who did websites because he was looking for somebody else, and I kind of bluffed my way into it. I said, yeah, I could do a website, and I said,
and you really went and bought web design for dummies?
I did, and I remember I bought Adobe or whoever owned it at the time, Dreamweaver. Taught myself.
Oh, Dreamweaver, yes.
This is 2000, so, and I taught myself how to build a basic website by building him a new website.
Oh my God, that is freaking awesome! I love that.
Yeah, and so I showed it to him and his wife, and they loved it, and they said, "Yeah, let's do it." And
God.
and so that went on until the Billy thing kind of went away, and so that's how we got connected and became friends, and through him I met Russell Javers, and who lived at the time in my old hometown in Michigan. So it was like all these really weird worlds colliding, and you're talking about Jack, I think too, like being in the room of these two guys talking. Russell was in town in Florida on like a work convention or whatever with the company he was with, and Liberty and I were in town, and I kind of orchestrated a lunch between the three of us.
Wow.
And I said they hadn't seen each other in a while. So I'm like, well, let's get together, at the hotel restaurant and just kind of catch up. And I barely said 20 words probably in this hour and a half. The two of them, it was like no time had passed.
Sure.
Transported back to like 1981, and these guys are just telling stories left and right, cracking each other up. I'm like, what am I in the middle of right now? This is incredible.
It is. It's pretty surreal when they have, and the thing is too, is, obviously coming from a spot of being a fan, but being a musician and then hearing stories from guys at that level.
Right.
Yeah.
There's something different about it. For me, anyways, it's huge. Local. I've just been a local drummer here, since I was a kid. I started playing when I was first grade.
Yeah.
I had a couple friends of mine have gone on to, I guess, what I consider to have made it. I have a buddy.
Yeah, a lot of his friends play with Carl Fisher, and we go watch Carl Fisher.
Oh.
Yeah, we went to see Organic Groove, and two of the guys in the band I went to school with.
Yeah.
These guys, toured with Maynard Ferguson.
Turd.
Yeah.
Toured. Turd. You're an ass. I have another buddy that I was in jazz ensemble with up from junior high, through high school with Stan Cole Orchestra. Rocco Barbato is now playing with Donnie and Marie in Vegas.
Oh, wow.
And I never, hey, I did a lot of
life choices.
I did, I smoked a lot of dope in high school.
They went on the road. You pursued an education.
Yeah,
Yes.
I stayed here. All my parents, get a job.
Yeah.
I whatever. So I never left. So when I now have had the opportunity to get, like what's it really like, and I will tell you, every single one of them said we're all hired guns, at any day, gig will go away.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you're not, and especially nowadays, that's one thing lacking, I think, in you don't see any bands anymore.
Yeah.
All singers with studio musicians and hired guns behind them.
Right. Even a lot of bands, so to speak.
Yeah, they're all just kind of put together.
You know, and I think that sucks. You know, I play with a local band here now. I'm very fortunate. A band called Atlas. They're 39 years, starting this year.
Wow. Awesome.
I've been with them now for 3 years. We're they're very well known corporate wedding party band, 90s horn band, a lot of fun music. And in my area, I'm fortunate, man. I feel very blessed that I play with these guys. But you know, we all, when we started to play, I want to be a rock star. I want to be a touring musician, or I want to be a studio musician.
Sure.
Yeah.
Meeting these guys like you would Lib and Russell, and to be able to hear those stories or grab some insight as to what it's really like to be at that A level.
I learned so much just by being around them.
Oh, that you would never learn otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get it unless it's from someone who's been there and doing it. And to me, that's special. That's very special. So
it really is.
Blessed, like I am with some of the guys in the band now.
Super lucky. Yeah. I tell you, I've never been so nervous as to when I think Liberty asked me to play drums for the first time.
Oh my God!
Are you serious?
I would. Yeah.
Wanted to hear you play?
He just had me. Yeah. He's like, He's like, go ahead and sit down at the kit and play if you want. I was like, oh crap.
All right. I did the same thing a little bit. Well, not that Chuck wanted to hear me play, but when they were up here, I sat down behind the kit that Chuck was playing, and I will say this: he plays in such a position. I'm a 5'8", 200+ pound, 50-year-old guy.
Yeah.
Chuck is 5'10", 170 pounds
of muscle,
of sheer lean muscle, and the way his kit is set up, I can't freaking play it.
Oh yeah.
It is high and tight.
Yeah.
And it's all in, and I'm like, look, my belly's got to come out. So did you play on Liberty's kit the way he had it set up? And if so, was it a weird setup for you, or?
So it was. It wasn't like the Billy kit. It was one of his Tama kits, but it was what he was playing with the Funk Club.
Okay.
That he would just have set up at his house, and it was pretty comfortable. It was with the Funk Club, he just did a 4-piece, just a rack and a floor, and like ride cymbal, two crashes, super simple, pretty comfortable, if I remember. I remember. It's funny because there was one day where they had 2 gigs on the same day, like one in town, one out of town. And so he's like, hey, can I use your kit for one of these gigs? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I said, but it kind of sounds like shit. I said, it's not the best sounding kit in the world. And then he used it for the gig. I was like, oh, it's not the drums, it's the drummer.
Yes. It's the way you play them. Yes.
I was like, wow, these sound great.
That's awesome. That is awesome. It is true, though. Yeah. It's the way they're played, and that's, it's a very fine but large difference between those 8 players on how they play and what they can do.
Yeah.
Like Wade Preston.
I love Wade.
He is world. Well, listen, everybody we've talked. You guys know Wade?
Yeah.
Okay. So we were talking to Wade last week. Wade did a little part in the movie Miss Maisel.
No, the TV show, The Marvelous Miss Maisel. You need to get your facts right.
It's a movie, isn't it?
It is not. It's a TV show.
A Netflix thing. Anyways, so there's the scene where they're in a casino, and Wade was telling me when he went to videotape, whatever to call it, film.
I went to videotape it.
I go, oh, so you played on it? He goes, no, I was only singing. He goes, they had this other jazz player there that was just way out of my league. And I'm like, way out of your league?
Right.
Are like by Tommy Burns and all these other people. You played on Broadway. You are a world-renowned boogie woogie piano player. He goes, yeah, that's right. I'm a boogie woogie player. I'm not a jazz player. These guys were laughing at how I was trying to play something.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
And so when you're at that level, all right, I'm sorry.
No, it's so true.
And you know the thing is too, when they sit down, they're just a 10, like immediately. There's no sort of warm up. They just have they just command the room immediately, you know.
And like boom.
Yeah, like just first stroke down, you're like, I am just paying attention. You know, there's nothing else going on right now.
My old band years ago, September On, we Donnie Brown from the Verve Pipe produced our record, co-produced it.
Oh wow!
Like he engineered and edited all my drum tracks. And
I'm listening to it tomorrow, by the way. I didn't get to listen to it today, but
right on.
Tomorrow.
Cool. Oh, cool. So yeah, he's the one who'd recorded all the drums on that album. And my band, we used to cover the Verve Pipe song "Photograph," and while we were in a break in between takes or whatever, we were down in his studio, and he's like, "You guys play that song, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Play the fill coming out of the third verse." Yeah. I was like, "What?" He's like, "Play it." He's like, "Sit down, play it." Hands me the sticks, and I play it how I hear it. And he goes, "Nope, wrong. Come here." And he grabs the sticks and sits down and teaches it to me like on the spot.
Oh, awesome.
Wrong.
Yeah. He's like, "Now you'll never play it wrong."
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
So real.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so real quick, I have the took me forever, but here's the photo of Teddy with Taylor Hawkins in Manhattan.
Oh,
what a look of triumph! I love it.
I know, isn't his face like, it looks like, oh my God,
it was
like,
let me tell you,
my
that
life
was
is
such
made.
an awesome night.
I thought he was excited because he actually figured out who it was before we left. Like, oh wow, he recognized it, said it, and made the connection.
Yeah.
He actually left because I would have been delayed. I would have missed the whole.
All she was worried about was this, drunk woman coming in, falling on her, and
driving me nuts.
her nuts.
Pissed off about that. Yeah.
More of a forgiving person.
Oh.
Yep, there it is.
That's incredible.
Taylor.
Yeah.
See, he still got me in the headlock.
You're wearing the same shirt.
Oh my God, that's funny. I am literally wearing the same shirt right now that I wore that night.
Yeah. I was
That-
wondering about that too. I couldn't see if it had a collar on it. Let me pop it back on here. Yeah, everything's. You guys are getting it on delay, but yeah.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny.
Yeah, that's a great shot.
Yep. It's famous original Rays.
Classic. I've been there after many a Billy shows when we were in town for sure.
Yep. That's where to go.
Great pizza. Just
Anything's great at 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's right.
yeah. True.
I got super lucky to see Billy, I think 3 times at the Garden.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, work used to take me there for the New York Auto Show every spring, and of the 4 or so years I was there, I got to see 3 Billy shows, a Lord show, and a Big Shot show. So it was incredible.
Oh,
Wow.
very nice.
Yeah.
And I think Bon Jovi and Seinfeld one year. So,
I
that's
felt,
nice.
yep. Bon Jovi, I saw Bon Jovi,
Okay, great.
1980, had to be 86 when Slippery When Wet came out.
Yep.
First album I ever bought.
There was I worked at a local bar, rock bar called USA Sam's, held about 1,200 people. And they had there before. It was literally, I saw them that year at the bar where I worked, and the following year they were in the Carrier Dome. So right before they hit.
it's incredible how fast that can happen.
Oh, it's so yeah, yep. That it is. That it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyways,
Kevin Mager was asking, I don't know how old this is. I just got back on the chat. He says, have you guys seen Lords of 52nd Street? So you guys talked about them. I saw them up in Havana in New Hope, I think 2 years ago now. And it was a great show. That was one where I kind of was in charge of like getting the tickets and rounding everybody up. And by the time we got there, I was almost a little disappointed going in. I'm like, it's not really Billy, and it just felt like all the excitement was done because we had actually all gotten there. And then they started
Okay.
playing, and I'm like, oh man, I could throw my beer and hit them. Like that's how close I am.
Wow.
I remember when, and talking about Michael, when we was talking about getting taught how to play that fill when he did Rosalinda's Eyes. I got up and went around
Oh yeah.
until I finally figured out. I'm like, oh, he's playing with a brush in one hand. Now that beat makes total sense. I was like, man, that's awesome. So I was like, just got myself at the vantage point, was just going like that, playing like, all right, I got it, and then went back to my seat. But yeah, they were fantastic. I can't wait to see them again. I think their show just got rescheduled, so I think I can make it now.
Yeah, right. It just really stinks what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Buddies, I mean, we're all in the same boat,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had a whole bunch of shows lined up, and to pull just like everything down.
Yeah.
So you got to be feeling it too, of course.
Yeah, I have not played. Like I said, we're a big corporate wedding band. The last gig I had was New Year's.
Oh wow, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I played.
Or wait, no, we had one in January. We did. Everything's been canceled since then.
Yeah.
And right now, they just canceled. We had. Hopefully, we'll be playing the end of May.
Right. It's just touch and go. I just bought in January. I bought new drum heads and like my first big boy drum throne, like $200 seat kind of thing. And it's just sitting in the basement. Like the best thing was a friend of mine traded me like my old practice kit, and he gave me a Roland electronic kit. So I think one thing that's like keeping everybody sane right now is like I can play at 1 a.m. and you can't hear me upstairs. But I got these new heads, and they're just I can't even rent out like a rehearsal space and go in there and do it. I'm gonna take the drums to like an abandoned lot, and just bash on them for an hour.
When we got married and we were looking for another house, she almost killed me because where we live now, I'm as she said earlier, I'm 12 years older than her, so I'm 52 right now. So I knew the next house I bought was going to be, that's it. I'm going to die in the next house I buy. 41 houses. And one of the things I had to make sure of was that from the driveway into the basement, there were no stairs because my gear would come out and go to the basement. And I made the basement my playing area.
And he wanted to go to the basement.
Why do you always throw that in? Anyways, so that is one good thing. There's a good thing right at the end of the tunnel with what's going on. I have been practicing. I've been able to play like it was back in high school again.
Yeah.
And I just broke into a book, Marco Miniman's Extreme Interdependence.
Okay.
Oh my God! It's like I started playing drums all over again. You're playing a 3 over a 5 with your left foot and the right foot, and then you're doing a 2/4 pattern with your right and left hand in paradiddle, so that each hand, every third measure changes lead.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Oh my God! But I mean, it's literally at certain points, it's like you're starting all over again. But then, I'm sure you guys know, all of a sudden, oh my God, there it is!
Yeah.
And the minute you start to think about it, it falls apart again.
As soon as you overthink it,
you can only listen for like a second, and then you got to be concentrating on it. Yeah.
Second. Oh my God! It's gone.
Yeah, it's that light at the end of the tunnel. Then your limbs just fall back apart.
Oh yeah, but it's been fun, and a little bit of progression every day. So I'm dying to try out some new gospel chops I got too.
Oh, cool.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I know the guys in the band, they're probably going to turn around and go, what was that?
Oh, everybody's going to be doing that, though. Everybody's just going to be like flying off the handle.
Yeah.
Look what I learned.
We're going to get blamed because we're the drummers and we're the loudest when we do it. Nobody even noticed the bass players popping and snapping.
Band, the very first people that are blamed are the drummers.
Yeah.
It's usually the lead singer's fault.
Yeah. I got the...
I can't wait to listen to that music you sent to Melissa now.
Oh, yeah, right on.
Very excited to hear that.
Yeah, I hope you dig it. It's very like 90s alternative kind of stuff.
Cool.
Like Better Than Ezra, the Verve Pipe, Tonic, all that kind of Toad the Wet Sprocket.
Like, one of her favorite bands.
Yes, you
we're
were
all
saying.
into so many different kinds of bands, from jazz to metal to Billy, and
Sure.
that was like the common thread where we all connected. So that's kind of what we ended up sounding like. That's how it all worked.
Hey, I love it. That's what
If
When
we were
you're-
together 20 years prior, we would have been had a hit.
Yeah, right.
right. Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Well, guys, this has been so much fun. We can't thank you enough for
I'm so
joining
sorry
us.
that it's like 10 after 11. Killed your whole evening.
No, it's all good. Hey, Melissa, scooch in just a little bit as we kind of wrap up. You're
Yeah.
kind of out of frame. Pretend
go.
you like each other.
Aw.
I
That's
still
perfect.
sometimes.
No, but this has been so much fun. You guys have such a fun radio show and are doing so much for the Billy community, and 6 years strong and counting with you guys, which is awesome.
Yeah.
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 Oh.
Well, we would love to have you guys, once we figure out how to do it, we can't figure out how to get phone calls here yet, but we would love to have you guys on with us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we can talk through logistics for sure. Even if we pre-record something that you slide in or whatever.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You guys got audio stuff. You can, if you had a promo for yourselves or you wanted to talk anything, we could add it in. That would be awesome.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
if you talk sometime, I'd like to find out what audio or video software you guys are using. 'Cause
Sure.
I kind of I like how you guys are doing that.
Yeah, this is fun. This is the live thing is totally brand new. It's called OBS, and Jack's kind of running the board, so to speak, on this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be fun. We'd love to do something with your show, and
Okay.
we've both been listening for a while. So it'll be fun to do something together on that, and we definitely should
I
do
gotta
something
get
like
better
this
lighting.
again.
Yeah, we look like we're in some like weird. It's like that Seinfeld
gotta back
episode
up.
with the Two-Face. Remember the Two-Face?
The Two-Face.
And lighting.
Bad lighting.
Well, you know what the trick is?
Yamaha.
I don't know if you could see it. I don't know if you can see it. I actually have stage lights behind me pointed up. That turned out to be the trick. So
Oh,
okay.
okay. Oh, yeah, we could put them right back here.
Well, I have, like I said, I have a
he's got
small
lights.
sound company.
Like
Um,
drums,
so,
cymbals,
yeah.
speakers.
hey, you got the whole upstairs. All right,
What did we talk about last night? What did I say last night?
this is my realm. Leave me alone.
Yeah, I kind of set this all up down. I'm down. I have like the desk, obviously the lights behind me, and then like my drum set like within arm's reach over here. So I'll be working all day, and then I'll sneak over.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
All right. Well, we definitely keep in touch, and
Yes, you as well.
we anything we can do to help support you guys, we would love to, and we'd love to keep in touch because this was fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
The
it's a
same
great
with you
time.
both as well. Well, you
All right.
two have a wonderful night, and we will talk very soon, I'm sure.
Awesome. Stay safe and healthy, and be careful if you're doing anything.
Sounds
Thanks.
great.
Same to you.
You too. You
All
as
right,
well.
guys. Talk to you soon. Thanks again.
All right,
Take care.
Talk to you soon. Take
Bye.
care. Thanks. Bye-bye. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. This was a marathon session, but it was a great time.
Thanks to Melissa and Teddy for joining us. That was so much fun.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll have this up, and this episode should be out on our website. Hopefully, within a day or two.
Yeah, within the next day or so, for
Yeah,
sure.
as soon as we get this one done, and then what's our next regular episode?
So I think it depends on what I edit first. Instagram, just search Glass Houses Podcast, and you'll find our logo on our icon there that you can connect with us. We also have a website, which is glasshousespod.com. This is where you can find all of our episodes, which you can also find anywhere you get your podcasts. And you can also email us directly, which is glasshousespodcast@gmail.com. We read and respond to everything that comes in. So please reach out. We'd love to hear from everybody.
Yeah, we missed doing. That's what we forgot to do. We didn't do any fan mail today. We're gonna have to do that next in 2 weeks when we do this again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, please, write in. We'd love to hear some of your favorites and some of your Billy stories and things like that. It's really great to hear everyone else's experience.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I think that's about it for us tonight.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up for tonight. So I appreciate everyone who tuned in over the course of the night. I know this was a long one, so some folks popped in and out, and all your comments have been fantastic. So we appreciate everyone listening and watching tonight. And again, next Tuesday is going to be our next regular episode, so stick around for that. That'll be coming soon. But in the meantime, thanks again, and we will talk to you all very, very soon.
Yeah, thanks a lot. See you guys all soon.